Are you going to sit down? This is Rusty. He's blind. Also, he has a seizure disorder that has to be medicated. Hi. Hi. I think that that's a really just, it's a really good example of the way that my life is. Rusty is a Shar Pei. He was born in the Republic of Georgia. We got him because having 5 kids, our other Shar Pei, 5 children was a little bit too much love for her. So we got Rusty. I think it's hilarious that he's not sitting down and that he's keeping his back to you, but whatever. Anyway, maybe you are interested in living abroad or traveling internationally more, or I don't know, just doing something unconventional with your life, but you have constraints. And so I want to talk about, hi, buddy, what it's like. He wouldn't settle. Oh well. What it's like having real challenges and constraints when you want to move abroad. I want you to know that if you have kids with high needs, or you yourself are neurodivergent, or you have had deep loss in your life, or you have a medical condition, or somebody in your family has a medical condition, I think I check all those boxes. It doesn't mean that you can't live an adventurous life. It doesn't mean that you have to say no to everything you'd like to do. For a long, long time, I thought that having chosen the life that we did, to have a big family and then also to have kids through adoption, have kids with special needs, I really thought that that would prohibit me from moving abroad and living abroad. It didn't. But I had to start asking questions differently, because I think, I had had this 20-year dream to live abroad. When I was a high schooler, I had lots of international friends. I really, really just imagined myself somewhere different. But then once we had this family that we have, that was before the blind dog with a seizure disorder, but still, having the 5 kids that we have, I just couldn't imagine how we would try to have this life abroad. And so at first, I just thought, well, we'll travel more. We'll travel internationally more. That felt like a big jump. Realizing that we could leverage our monthly spending with like US based travel credit cards. You spend a lot of money when you have this many people in your family. And so figuring out that we could use our money to get points to travel abroad, like that felt like the biggest, best, coolest discovery ever. But it also just, it wasn't what I was dreaming of. I was dreaming of living abroad. And boy, it was so painful every time that I would go through this process of like, I've always wanted to live abroad. I was a cross-cultural studies major. So like cultures and people from different places was always a passion of mine. And so I would occasionally take time to really get quiet about, like, what are we doing with our lives? What do we want to be doing? And it just wouldn't let go, that dream to live abroad. But I mean, it was a 20-year dream by the time that we finally launched. And that was because I didn't really believe that it was possible at all. I just thought this is impossible for me. And so I want to talk about sort of that shift because for many years, moving abroad was just a topic that brought sadness for me because I just thought, this is not possible for my life. This is a dream that is never going to come true for me. And so that's the way I was thinking. That's the way I was talking to myself. Like, this is not possible. The doors have closed. We have too many needs. We don't have remote jobs. Like, just over and over, all the reasons why I believed it was not a possibility for us. And so it wasn't. It wasn't a possibility because I didn't at all believe that it could be a possibility based on my life circumstances. Something that my coach and friend recently said in a video in the last couple of months was that she has seen all kinds of configurations of people live abroad. She's traveled to 100 countries, and I would say the same thing. Like, I've seen single people live abroad. I've seen large families. We're not the only ones. I've seen other large families live abroad. I've seen queer couples. I've seen retired people. I've seen families with young kids. I've seen families with teenagers. There are all kinds of people who have managed to figure out how to move abroad. And so clearly they had to go. I mean, maybe they always believed that they could. I did not. But it's part of the process to go from telling yourself this is not possible because XYZ to there's this interim stage for most people, which is, could it be possible? And then my opinion is that where you have to get to, at least for me, where I had to get to was, how can I make this happen? Or like, how could this be possible? And it's really so interesting to change the question that you're asking yourself, to even start asking yourself questions instead of just making statements to yourself. So it's really a mental game. If you don't believe that it's possible, probably it's not possible. That's all it comes down to. And so I'm not saying that magically, if you start believing it is possible, that everything's going to fall into place. For us, it was really quite hard. There were a lot of things that we were trying to make work that didn't work. Our process fell apart many, many times. I will link a podcast that I was on recently, where I just talked about how everything came crashing down multiple times for us. So it's not that believing it is going to make it super easy and suddenly everything will fall into place, but it is a prerequisite for actually making it happen, is believing that it's possible. And the best way to do that is honestly to immerse yourself in the topic. Watch YouTube channels where people have moved abroad. Listen to podcasts where people have moved abroad. Read books. Follow Instagrams, whatever. Expose yourself to people of all kinds who are doing what you would like to be doing. That is a very, very important part of my process. I started following travel bloggers and travel influencers and whatever. I started to get in that world because we were internationally traveling more, and that was before I even believed that we had the possibility to live abroad. In my mind at the time, I really believed that if we as a family this big were going to live abroad, we needed to be transferred with my husband's corporate job. Like, that was the only concept I had for how we could make this work financially, is to be transferred abroad, like the whole international package. And that's not true. There's a lot of people who figure it out in many, many different ways. So eventually we figured it out in a different way. But we thought, even for us, we thought that that's how we were going to live abroad, is that we were going to transfer to the Ireland office, and that all seemed so simple. It seemed, well, actually, it didn't seem simple. It seemed complex at the time. But now thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that would have been simple compared to like the way that we eventually ended up moving abroad. So anyway, today I'm just here to say the way that you get where you want to go is take the next step in learning about the subject. I think that we don't give the process enough credit. There is a very big process to following a dream. There is a very long, bumpy road to doing anything that's worth doing, right? But that's part of it. And who you become along the journey to trying to do something that you've dreamed of doing is a lot of the payoff. Honestly, I'm here bothering to start a YouTube channel, bothering to talk to the internet, because I know that eventually it's going to pay off for my business, for my life. But I never would have believed that before. I think there's a lot of things I had no idea that I was capable of until we moved abroad, had it fall apart, made it work again, pivoted, figured out like what's happening next, how can we make this happen? And now I have enough self-trust to know that if I go for something, I can pivot when a failure happens or a perceived failure. Another thing that Glow says is like, this is just information. So when we fail or when something doesn't work out, it's information. And we take the information, and I think the most important piece of the information is seeing yourself have something not work out, and that you are resilient enough to come up with a different plan, you're creative enough, you have enough tenacity to figure out a different plan and keep going. And I think that our whole moving abroad experience has taught me that I'm capable. And you don't know that you're capable until you try. And so I think from a personal development standpoint and from a growth standpoint, just from like being a lifelong learner, one of the best things that you can try is to just try. Whatever it is that you're sort of interested in, instead of fixating on the outcome, immerse yourself in the process, immerse yourself in the information, learn something new, see what's possible in other people's lives. That's really huge. starting to recognize like, oh, well, if somebody else did it, I can probably do it. Now, maybe they were single. They didn't have 5 kids along, but if you ever need to refer to somebody, you can refer to me because I have a lot of things going on in my life with 5 kids and disabilities and neurodivergence and just the list really goes on. And so I think I'm here because I want to show you what could be possible if you keep showing up. There's a lot of things about my life that are very imperfect, and yet it's an interesting life. It's a fun life. It's a life that when I am at the end of it, if I have the opportunity to reflect, then I will be proud of this life. And so I really, really want to encourage you not to give up on your dreams. I want to encourage you to be honest about the dreams that won't let go, that just keep coming up for you, even if that's been for 20 years. If they're still there and you're still kicking and you're not stuck in a certain city because you have to get cancer treatments or something like this, go for it. Because you don't know how long your life is. You don't know that you will always have health. What you do know is that you have today, that you have these desires to do something interesting and new with your life, maybe to do something outside the box. That's what you know, and so you need to work with the information that you know. So that's what I wanted to encourage you with today. I'm going to turn this off and drink my shake. I have this whole hilarious setup. It's ridiculous because I haven't managed to get a tripod yet. Oh boy. Okay, so this is my setup. Because I don't have anything to set up my camera on yet. Also, this is my art. I just thought I would show you that because I do a lot of things, and one of them is paint.